Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Circuit Zolder for another week of Radical Esports Cup racing. This week, week 9, getting towards the end of our season, into the final third. And on Friday nights, it has been dominated and continues to be dominated by Brandon Hawkin, who has won last week yet another race in a row, 7 in a row this season now. He is unexpectedly expectedly even is the championship leader in both of our standings in this championship, due to the unprecedented dominance that we've seen from him so far in season 3 of 2026. Ewan O'Leary and Joe Gregory along with you in commentary here on this Friday night for 2100 GMT broadcasted split once again, as Joe, we enter the final third of this season. It has all been about Brandon Hawkin to this point. It's been absolutely remarkable over such a varied schedule this season.
Yeah, great schedule this weekend. A big pile of current or former F1 tracks and a big pile of American Classics, as you see there. And Zolder is going to be very, very interesting in this in these cars. This track requires a lot of precision. You don't talk about radicals as a momentum car often, but you are going to here, and we'll talk more about that as the show unfolds.
Yeah, indeed. The standings, as I mentioned, are all in favour of Brandon Hawkin, including the iRacing official standings, which have him leading by 470 points. Now, in these final 4 weeks, that can change quite dramatically with the drop weeks being applied, but I doubt it will here. James Barry is leading the charge for second, with Peter Ivanyi and Ketil Larsen just in behind. Then a bit of a jump, then back to the battle for fifth, headed by Jake Williams, only 6 points in front of Max Davies, and 12 in front of Hove Gulliksen. Bit of a jump then back to Andre Castro, who's also a very long way ahead of Heinz Braun, and Mano de Graaf rounding out the top 10. And in the RaceSpot standings, Brandon Hawkin already can't be caught. That's the shortest time anyone's taken to win the championship here since we started recording these RaceSpotTV standings about a year ago. He's 102 points in front of James Barry, who's again leading the charge for second, with Andre Castro in third. Peter Ivanyi and Ketil Larsen next, to Hove Gulliksen outside the top 5. Jake Williams, Max Davies, who've all got a fair amount of points, and then those who haven't got so many. Heinz Braun, who's only been in the top 10 4 times out the 8 so far, and Julian Besterfield, who's still in the top 10 despite only having one race inside the top 10. I believe one start this season in the Radical Esports Cup has found himself into the top 10. That's just how it's sort of conventional. The top 8 you see there have been in terms of the points this season. They've been in there pretty much every week. The others have certainly not been. 20 degrees Celsius at this early morning track temperature once again here at Zolder tonight. And qualifying is going to be very, very important. Lap times just under the 1 minute 20 barrier here. It is sometimes pretty difficult to overtake round here. We'll see whether that rings true tonight, but as you can see here, we're using the fast chicane, so one of those big braking zones coming into the Jackie X chicane at the end of the lap is taken away. But it does make it into a very entertaining final couple of corners. Very fast and committed, and good for people driving on your own through that chicane. Less good for going side by side, as we watched Thomas Matheson get into the wall, showing the perils of Zolder and making mistakes around here.
Yeah, and it is all going to be about mistakes. You mentioned qualifying being important. Tough to get passes in. There's a good passing opportunity, I would say, at turn 9. But really, this track is about risk and reward and precision. As I said, that run through 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's very, very easy to overslow. You've got to maintain high speed across all 4 of those apexes. And then turn 5 is when you encounter the first of 4 chicanes out here at Zolder. Huge curbs. You can stay off the curbs in that turn 5 complex if you want, but you're not going to win that way. You've got to roll the dice on every lap, and we're going to have some great footage of these SR10s banging over those chicanes for you all afternoon today.
It's Philip Vandenhoek. We're just on him. This is Heinz Braun coming over the line and staying 7th. It looks like the top guys are done really here. And Andre Castro has finally got his qualifying together here tonight, which is good to see. See whether he can convert that into a race victory here today or not. Only 15 drivers so far with times on the board, and Paki Caruso not exactly representative of his pace. He's 5 seconds at the moment away from Andre Castro, the current leader of this session. Hove Gulliksen has attempted to set laps, has failed to do so. He's certainly the biggest name of those down the back of the field. But again, this is probably just speaking to how difficult this circuit actually is. The fact that lots of people haven't actually managed to get a lap time in here at all.
Yeah, it really is. And the second chicane complex, turn 7, we'll be talking about that as this one unfolds as well. A good line through turn 7 can only be described as careening, and you got to do that on every lap. Very easy to get an off track there, and that goes a long way to explaining how people are struggling to get times up. But my goodness, look at Brandon Hawken all the way down in P4. That is something we have not seen in a single qualifying session this season, with Castro, Ivanyi, and James Berry all ahead of Hawken, who is about 2/10 off of Castro in P1.
Fairly close at the top as Dennis Kirkopoulos comes through the final turns now as well. This, again, very exciting final chicane. Not going to get much closer with that lap time there. Still over a second off of the pole of Andre Castro. He continues on for a bit more practice here, as is Philip van den Hurk as well. Both of those two only continuing on really for practice more than anything else. But Van den Hurk on home soil here at Zolder. Very, very flat round here in Belgium, sort of towards the northern end, if you like, towards the northeast, if you like, of Belgium. Not a million miles away from its border with the Netherlands, and therefore very, very flat indeed around here. It's Andre Castro who's taken the pole here tonight, in front of Peter Eveney by 2 tenths and James Barry by 6 tenths. Brandon Hawken might see his streak come to an end tonight. He starts from 4th ahead of Max Davies and Kjetil Larsen, who then round off row 3. Already over a second off pole back here with Heinz Braun in 7th, Ollie Henrik Gulliksen in 8th place, Dennis Kirkopoulos and Andrea Vasily rounding out the top 10. Philip van den Hurk is next ahead of Rodrigo de la Cruz on row 6. Then Anis Rui, Chris Wetz and Paki Cruz are the final drivers to set times in this field. The others, 6 of them, have not done so. It's a relatively short run down towards turn 1 here, and quite an open corner once you get there through turn 1. See whether everybody gets through cleanly. When everyone knows track position is so important, we might see a bit of argy-bargy coming into this first turn.
Yeah, turn 1 here, very, very tough. It's been a thorn in my side over the years. A combination of kind of poor vision that hides the apex and the exit on entry, and unfavorable camber as well. So turn 1 is a struggle to get exactly right, and you've got to use all of the exit. The track in that spot way outside the white lines, and we'll be seeing people going off into the pit out to widen that exit of turn 1. But this coming up this start on cold tires, always a challenge in these radicals, especially challenging with that high speed left right down the road.
Yeah, indeed. I'm still waiting for somebody to get onto the grid down the back there. Rodrigo de la Cruz and Anis Rui actually not yet there. Do get a couple of minutes to get themselves there, which they are indeed now on the grid. So all 21 drivers set to go for 19 laps here at Zolder tonight in the broadcasted split of the Radical Esports Cup here tonight, and we are underway. It's a solid start from Castro, but look at that on the outside from Peter Eveney, who launches off the line and into the race lead. Castro will be furious with himself for that, as he didn't get the launch off the line he was looking for, and he's immediately replaced by Peter Eveney, who leads this race coming out of turn 2. Castro at least retains second, in front of James Barry, who's in 3rd, then Brandon Hawken, who stays 4th. In fact, that's the only change inside the top 9, the change for the lead, with Ivanyi's fantastic launch off the line, getting him into the lead straight away at the start of this race.
Yeah, incredible work there by Ivanyi. Castro had the inside line there into turn 1 and had a positional advantage, a little bit ahead of Ivanyi on the grid, but Ivanyi still making it work around the outside after a fantastic launch off the line. Really good stuff there.
Back down the back of the field there as well. Not too many dramas at the very back of the field, but has been 1 or 2, including a couple of drivers running wide out of turn 4 actually on this opening lap as well, as the guys come towards the end of lap number 1 here. Lap's going to go by very, very quickly here indeed tonight. In this race predicted to be just under half an hour. Through the final chicane they go, committed as ever, making sure not to go too far out wide into the grass, which can pull you off straight into that time wall on the outside line that's very ready to collect you. Kirkopoulos with perhaps the best run on the way down towards turn 1, although Heinz Braun's looking, he's not going like Dennis Kirkopoulos is, on Ole-Henrik Gulliksen, not able to quite do it. And involved in all this as well is Van den Hoek, who moves to the outside, in fact the inside, sorry, and straight past Kirill Polos, showing the perils of actually trying to make a move. He's lost one and maybe now two by making that move. Here comes Hove Gulliksen down the inside as well, and he moves into the top 10.
Yeah, Gulliksen, that move that put him in up into P10 represents, P10 represents a movement of 6. Gulliksen gets up 6 in the first lap alone, and he is out here in these cars. So not surprised to see. Oh, I am surprised to see 3 wide here. Oh my goodness.
That wasn't on my list of things expected to see tonight, that's for sure. Van den Hoek makes his way through, though, into 8th. Gulliksen follows him, so Hove Gulliksen, that is. So Ole-Henrik Gulliksen feels exactly how Kirill Polos did a moment ago. Chris Retz is also trying to regain places, and here comes Tobias Mathiesen down the inside as well, coming down into the hairpin. This is madness early on here at Zolder as he gets up into 12th place there. Mathiesen, they're going to have to get single filed out in time for the chicane. So yeah, very busy start, but again, is this because they know that track position is going to be so hard to fight for later on when it gets all single filed out? Or is this setting the tone for a very manic 19 laps indeed? We will see.
Yeah, it's, starting these cars off with a standing start on cold tires, it's always a gamble, but you see a lot of drivers cash in early on these tracks where passing can be difficult. They know that they should pounce while they have the chance, while everybody's still packed together. And Ivanyi doing a great job here, managing that gap behind to Castro. Remember, Castro had pretty thoroughly dominated that qualifying, put about 2/10 on his closest competitor, but Ivanyi smoked him out the start and is doing a great job managing that gap behind. I imagine Castro might be taking a breath here and planning his next move. We've seen him do that many times. He's very good at that part of racecraft, but I know that he's not happy with that start.
No, exactly. You can imagine exactly what he's saying here. I've been chatting to him week on week about his performances. Be very disappointed with the way that that changed hands early on. Enrico de la Cruz took ages to get onto the grid earlier on, and has simply been having more trouble here, getting wobbling over that curve on the inside of turn 8 there. Owen spinning on the rejoin as well. Meantime, James Barry with a bit of a bad run at the final chicane, and here comes Brandon Hawkin. Can he rescue this unprecedented run of victories on Friday nights? Well, it would be extraordinary if so, but he's got a long way to go from here. That's the first step, though. He's moved up into 3rd position in front of James Barry.
Yeah, and with 16 laps remaining, you got to like Hawkins' chances. His gap all the way up to Ivanyi in P1 is only 1.4. So plenty of time here, especially if Ivanyi and Castro start scrapping here, and there's something going off in the background. That is Van den Hoek. We're watching for him to do well here, and he has bent it.
Yeah, out of turn 4. Just got slightly wide into the gravel. It's not terrible, but he's lost an awful lot of time. He's all the way down to, goodness me, down to 17th place actually with that one incident. So that's fairly harsh, but that's the way it goes if you make an error through there. This is it again. Comes through. How wide does well, it does get quite wide actually. Just can't control it over the gravel there. Doesn't take anybody else out, but again shows the just lack of room for error around here, which is the case through pretty much every corner here at Zolder, and drops all the way down to 17th place with that.
Yeah, and this track too, Ewan, is kind of giving me the vibe of a track that attracts drivers regardless of what car. There's a few names here that aren't familiar to us in the Radical Esports Cup. So some of these folks are probably pretty good at Zolder, but the SR10 is a unique beast. It's hard to show up without practice and do well right out of the gate. And so we're seeing a lot of incidents, a lot of big droppers out there in the field.
Yeah, indeed. So lots of the positional changes come through here. With guys dropping right down the back like stones. Got to say that everybody is still in the race at least, but some of them have dropped a very long way. Here's the first chance for us to really look at an evolution of the gap here for the last 3 laps. Castro losing a bit last time round to Peter Ivanyi, who he's been keeping pretty close. Other than that, you see Ivanyi getting slightly quicker each lap as well. But this looks like a good lap from Castro so far. As we come through the first sector, he'd gained about half a tenth. There's 2 tenths in the second sector there, so this is a strong lap from Andre Castro, as long as he can stay close through the final chicane, which might be the most difficult part of the lap when you're following somebody so closely. Through he goes, and he does lose a bit of that time all over again as they cross the line, so even he will be able to keep the lead coming towards turn 1 all over again. But overall on the lap, he does gain just over 2 tenths of a second. There's plenty of guys who've shown so far that moves can be made here. That was very, very close to the wall for Gullikson there. Well, Henrik Gullikson is continuing to drop back, and now Ryan Stringer's having a look down the inside in towards turn number 1, and he's getting through as well. So it's getting even worse for Ole Henrik Gullikson now.
Nice move by Stringer there, creating the mistake ahead, applying pressure into turn 1, showing his nose, made his competitor there wash out on entry. Very easy to do, and I'll tell you, that looks like a nothing corner, but it is an absolute challenge. And here we go back up to front, and look at Castro has chipped down that gap, taking about another 10 out right now. And on the last lap, Castro was allowed to catch up a little bit by Ivanyi, losing his front tires. I think I saw him washing out of a couple of those chicanes that Ramiro showed us. So Ivanyi might not be taking care of those fronts, and they'll go off in a hurry if you're not very, very careful around here.
Let's watch this through the chicane. Look how difficult it is to follow. Goodness me. It was almost too close there. It's quite scary on board, actually. It still was too close through that chicane, really, because he got so much of the dirty air that he actually lost a bit of time. When he was 3 tenths back, he lost much less than that, but I guess he thinks that, well, if I'm going to make a pass, I've got to be quite close. So he just seems to be feeling this one out a little bit at the moment, Andre Castro, and hasn't quite worked out where the best place to make this move is, but you can't be relying on a mistake from Ivanyi. You can't be sure that one of those is actually going to come, but is he going to be looking for his run out of the final chicane there? Is it going to be somewhere else? Because that looked pretty difficult to deal with as the trailing driver there on board with Andre Castro.
Yeah, very tough, and I'll tell you, I've got a lot of seat time in these cars. I'm not good enough to feel it, but some of our faster drivers here swear that iRacing is modeling the wash off the car in front, and it does affect your grip, particularly turn in. So it's blowing up the arrow on the front splitter. These things can get tough to turn in, which compounds the front tire wear, which these cars are already prone to. They're kind of understeery with this fixed setup. You have to do a lot of trail braking to protect the front, and when you're in the wash of a car ahead, like Castro is right now, that just amplifies that whole situation.
He's got a bit better of a run this time, but he's not close enough towards turn number 1. He's about a quarter of a second behind as they turn in for the first corner, a bit wide from Ivanyi. And Castro again not close enough towards turn 2, but again he's just feeling this one out a little bit at the moment. Just trying to find out where his best place to attack is. Again, another good corner through turn 2 and 3. So this is where the pressure starts to come in. As mentioned, that you can't rely on a mistake from Ivanyi, but you can try and force one if possible. But Castro runs wide, and he's going to have to think up something else here. Maybe he is for these first sort of maybe 3/4 of this race or so. Going to just put the pressure on and see what happens. Ivanyi massively over the curve there, coming through the chicane on the back straight, the Klein chicane, as they come down towards turns at 6 now and into the chicane at 7. Castro's still not quite close enough, but he is forcing small mistakes from Peter Ivanyi suddenly.
Well, he is, and you talked about applying pressure and forcing a mistake as a strategy, and that really is a thing here at Zolder. If you're Peter Ivanyi in P1, you see Castro nibbling away at that 2 or 3 tenths gap. The way to make up that gap is increasing your risk, particularly in that turn 5 complex. You saw Ivanyi hit that one hard, the 2 wheels off the ground, and the Radical doesn't really like that. It breaks the aerodynamic seal, upsets the car, and if a huge mistake is going to happen on this track, that is where it's going to happen, and that's where you're going to be tempted to roll the dice if you see that gap behind starting to shrink.
Well, this is getting increasingly pressurized now for Peter Ivanyi. I wonder how much longer he can actually deal with this, because he is making these micro mistakes that is just exacerbating the problem when they get to the next turn. Meantime, over Gullikson down the inside of Max Davies. Goodness me, he's made up a lot of places. That's 11 now for Gullikson. Didn't realise he qualified quite so well. Of course, he didn't settle out. That's why he qualified so badly. I've just remembered. So yeah, 11 places gained. Ivan Gullikson is on an absolute charge at the moment. Oh, but there goes Max Davies straight back at him again. Straight out of the Klein chicane. And that was a Gullikson mistake this time round that drops him outside the top 5. Brought Heinz Broad along with him as well. But what a recovery from Ivan Gullikson here to be making up so many places. Castro's going to be taking a leap out of his boat. He goes down the inside. It's quite a late dive. Coming in towards the hairpin down there. Very tight between the two at turn 8 now. Who is going to yield? They're both absolutely locked together. There's nobody who's going to back out of this. Oh, and Castro has to finally, because he was on the outside. They were absolutely neck and neck there. I was sure that neither of them were going to back out of it, but given it's still the first half of the race, Castro probably decided to just take his time for now, but that was the closest he's got so far.
That was incredible stuff, and that is why we show up for this top split action on Friday, 2100 GMT. And I'm hoping that Ivanyi and Castro both had smiles on their faces. They were going side by side down the pit straight, heading into that final chicane. That was great car control, great trusses to see Castro fighting to put down power coming out of turn 4.
And again, even he's sliding slightly wide at the Klein chicane. This is Anis Rui making a mistake, by the way, coming through the double right-hander, which these two are about to get to. It's clear now for them all, and Castro very nearly got alongside there. Even he sewed him half a car width, but no more. And that allows him to keep this position once again here through that double right-hander, as we just saw. This is where Castro made his dive before. He wasn't that close, to be honest, that where he dived down the inside, but he nearly made it work anyway. Problem is, though, if you're diving down the inside of that hairpin there, you're always on the outside for that fast chicane. And I do just wonder if that was lap 18 rather than lap 9, whether he might have tried to stick that one out there on the outside.
Yeah, he very well might have. And Castro, as we've mentioned, has a pro ride currently in touring cars. So he knows how to perform under pressure, and wouldn't be surprised at all if that was a little bit of experimentation on Ivanyi there, trying to figure out what the end game is going to be. Couldn't make it stick, but you know he liked that result of getting side by side. And there's an onboard with Castro trying to trail brake around turn 4. A little bit too much rotation, gets a little loose. The gap back up to 3/10, and here comes that turn 5 chicane. How much curb are we going to get? Bang! You see the fast hands of Castro preventing disaster there. Great, great stuff.
It's a good job you only need these suspensions for about half an hour, because they do take an absolute pounding through that chicane there. The Klein chicane and this chicane as well, to be fair. This circuit is all about curves and seemingly sometimes smashing into them as hard as he possibly can. Here comes Castro again, and even he knows it's coming this time, so he moves it over to defend. He realised that would have been a dive from Castro had he not covered it off. And so, yeah, Castro is battered away again, but Peter Ivanyi is holding on well here. They're both inviting Brandon Hawkin into this. Surely he can't pull this one off, Brandon Hawkin. Surely the run's going to come to an end now. He's a second and a half behind these two still, but he is closing with this battle. A little bit of lap traffic in front for Ivanyi, and now Castro to move through, although Andre Castro with a slightly compromised line there on the way towards turn 1. I believe that's Diego Mala, who they've just overtaken there, 19th place. We do have one retirement, by the way, Anis Rui, after that incident. I think if not a retirement, then certainly a very long stop upcoming there for Rui as this race continues on without him. Castro now 7/10 behind. That bit of traffic has really slowed his progress here.
Yeah, Castro, my goodness, sometimes you get the elevator, sometimes you get the shaft, and traffic treating Andre Castro very, very poorly right there. And that was Mahler, the next car up the track, about 20 seconds. So in the last 7 laps here, back markers probably, oh my God, look at that wiggle. Back markers probably not going to interfere with this race up front again, but Castro cursing right now. He's pedaling hard, losing rear grip with 7 laps to go, and that lap traffic might have eliminated his opportunity here, and that is unfortunate for him.
Well, indeed, and it's been exacerbated by that slight mistake we just saw there, that big slide. That's increased the gap now to about a second, and weirdly enough, that's actually bad news for Brandon Hawkin as well, as far as winning this race is concerned, because he was benefiting from the two in front fighting as hard as they were, and now that they no longer are, he's no longer catching quite as quickly either, although he is catching Castro. He's going to run out of time to do this the old-fashioned way, I think. So, yeah, this run may well be coming to an end. As I say, 7 in a row coming into tonight, Brandon Hawkin, on these Friday nights. The only other race winner is Jake Williams. in this first round of the season, actually. He hasn't scored a single point, a single top 10 since Silverstone, which was 3 weeks ago now. And he hasn't been on the podium since Imola, which was week 4, about a month and a half ago. So he's not been around for a little while, not been around up towards the top. But is that run going to miraculously continue? First of all, Castro's got to catch up to Ivanyi again for us to see this leading battle. And this is much more difficult for him. It's much harder to bring this gap from over a second down to arm's length again than it is to actually defend and keep somebody behind in the way that Peter Ivanyi was doing. It's much more comfortable for the race leader having this sort of a gap.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if Ivanyi can hang on here, he is definitely going to get the drive of the day. I mean, he started from the front row, turned it into P1, going into turn 1, but still to put up with that pressure from Castro, to deal with those side-by-side moments and mind that gap behind. And look at the list of drivers behind him. Castro, Barry, and Gullickson all in the top 5. Those are all past champions of the Radical Esports Cup. And so Ivanyi, what he's doing out here today in Zolder, very impressive. And there's Chris Vetz, and his seat might be getting a little Vetz right now as he gets too much curb in that turn 5 chicane.
Yeah, just bobbles over very awkwardly. It's so easy to do around here. It really is. Castro is really starting to struggle now. He's serving a slowdown. He's trying to do it in a way to not let Hawkin through. And these two have battled time and again this season. They're going to do it for second place this time round. Castro has been on the podium in the last 2 weeks. He looks like he's going to continue that run, but he would like to beat Brandon Hawkin for the first time in this season, if possible. That was definitely a slowdown for Castro. This race win is all in the hands of Peter Ivanyi now, who's just going to avoid the similar sort of mistakes himself, and he will take the race victory, but who will finish in second place? Time for another classic battle between these two.
Yeah, and shades of Spa right there. Remember that Jake Williams serving a slowdown in front of Castro, trying to block on the inside. Castro put him off and told us after the broadcast that when you do that, you deserve to get put off. So interesting to see him employing that tactic down the stretch here. And man, oh man, Hawkin is liking what he's seeing right now. He's turned that 1.5 gap into 0.3 right now with plenty of time left.
It's a proper fight for the last 5 laps of this race. As I say, it is all in Ivanyi's hands now for the overall lead. He is going to go on and take this race victory by the looks of things. Who is going to finish in second place is the question. Peter Ivanyi hasn't won since the Brands Hatch round of last season. It was week 6 of season 2, which is what, sort of May time, late May, something like that. It's been a little while. It's been a little while since he's taken the victory, certainly over 3 months, and he's looking like he's going to do it again here tonight at another European racetrack, slightly smaller than some of the other big Grand Prix circuits here at Circuit Zolder here tonight. Castro so far keeping this one comfortable in front of Brandon Hawkin as they come towards the line for another time. It's weird for Castro, must be, to be in the opposite scenario now, the one on the defensive rather than doing the attacking as he was earlier.
I'm seeing Hawkin lift out of this a little bit. I think he's trying to telegraph to Castro, I'm okay with P3 right now. Barry is chipping that gap down in a hurry, and we don't want to let him into this fight. So let's just get our laps done and head back to the paddock.
Yeah. This is Chris Vetz again, by the looks of it. Oh, my word! He has hit the wall really hard coming out of the double right-hander. And he has bounced down the racetrack like I don't know what. And he's still going. Goodness me. When does this end? He'll be feeling very, very sick if he's got a VR headset. Hopefully it's just a monitor for him. Otherwise he'll be in hospital very, very soon. There he is, upside down. And now he can finally tow out the way of everybody as well, thankfully. Now that he's come to rest as well. That was... I feel like I say this fairly often with these radicals, but that was one of the bigger crashes I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. And there is, after the race, there's going to be a yard sale right there of parts, radical parts from that number 15 car. So be sure and head across the infield and pick up some body work after the race.
It'll all be for sale. Don't need any of that anymore. That's absolutely wrecked. Look, he's sat there up pit lane still, Chris Red, as if he's trying to repair it. Looks like a shell of its former self, the Radical down there. Anyway, well, I guess it is literally, but there you go. Well, he'll be out here tonight by the looks of things, and that is a shame. Driver who's only finished in the top 10 twice this season so far. Best place of an eighth place finish at Willow Springs 2 weeks ago. Well, Castro looking comfortable again here in front of Brandon Hawkin, who maybe looks to be just slightly off the pace here tonight. We haven't said that really at all this season, so that Castro really pounds over the curves and be careful with slowdowns again through there. But for the first time really in about 8 weeks, Hawkin has not been by far and away the fastest driver here, and you know, he's, I think, being certainly outpaced by Peter Ivanyi as he was in qualifying and in this race, but actually a little bit by Andre Castro as well, who's definitely keeping him at arm's length right now.
Yeah, and looking at the fast laps, Castro actually has the fastest at a 1:19.290 between the three of those. Hawkin a short distance behind, so even the slowest hot lap of the top three, but he has gotten the work done that he needed, enjoying a 3-second gap right now with just a couple laps remaining.
Paki Caruso just loses 2 positions on this lap here. Henrik Gulliksen finally regaining some of these places, as is Tobias Mattheson to 12th. Another one who's really moved through the field, by the way. Obviously, Henrik Gulliksen is unmatched in those stakes, but 5 places gained for Mattheson, another driver who didn't qualify. And there might be another one here, side by side coming into the final chicane. Are we going to see them both go for it? Oh my word, Gulliksen around the outside has made that work, and they've slowed each other up dramatically, and Gulliksen's going to be able to be re-overtaken there very easily by Mattheson because of that slow run onto the front straight. Although Gulliksen just runs around the outside and keeps the position anyway. Paki Caruso's back into the fight, and even diving down the inside, he's not going to actually make that happen on that occasion. But yeah, we've seen it finally. It's taken a while, but a short moment of side by side through the final chicane there.
Yeah, good stuff right there, and I wish they used this layout a little more, frankly. The other layout with a super abrupt final chicane really kind of breaks the flow of the track to me as a GT3 driver. So fun to see these guys shooting through there. You kind of have to thread the needle through that quick left-right coming onto the pit straight, and challenging and fun stuff on every lap. Feels fantastic when you get that one right.
I do agree with you. I mean, I would say normally, you know, I'd fear it takes an overtaking chance away with that one less braking zone, but actually, I mean, there's not normally an overtaking chance there anyway, so what's the point? You might as well have the committed chicane through there. I don't think it is used in real life anymore, actually, but and I guess you can see why if that is indeed true. But it's there in the sim for us to use, and I agree. I think it is a good addition to this layout that we've used here this week in the Radical Esports Cup. Of course, racing continues all weeks in this official series, but this is always the most valuable for those who are seeking to stay up towards the front in the iRacing official standings. And Brandon Hawkins standing in those are not going to take too much of a battering here. Peter Ivanyi will eat into that just a little bit, as will Andre Castro. Nevertheless, Brandon Hawkins will still leave this week the comfortable iRacing standings leader in this brilliant Season 3 of 2026 that he is having. Out front, though, Peter Ivanyi is going to win in this series for the first time in well over 3 months. Round 6 of Season 2 this year was his previous victory at Brands Hatch. Well, elsewhere in Europe, he takes another victory, this time in Zolder, by just under 3 seconds in the end in front of Andre Castro, who he fought off very well. And Brandon Hawkin, whose absolutely phenomenal run of race wins finally comes to an end, because it was going to one day.
Yeah, and again, a big tip of the hat to Peter. That was an outstanding drive. It is not easy to take that kind of pressure that he was getting from Andre Castro. He was an excellent driver. And with all due respect to Gulliksen, who charged up through the field, plus 11 during that one. Oh, my goodness, and the fighting still going on there as I'm talking over the action. But great drive by Ivanyi.
Uh-oh. And Caruso actually managed to get himself a penalty right at the very end there for making contact. So that's going to cost him an awful lot. He'll be down to 18th, at least at the end of tonight, with that rather careless moment right at the end. But those guys were properly going for it. It's Peter Ivanyi, though, who takes the victory. Andre Castro, Brandon Hawkin, James Barry next. And by the way, the top 4 in our RaceSpotTV standings from Friday night results. All the top 4 in this race as well, in a slightly different order. Harvey Gullickson, as you say, making all those places to get a top 5. Max Davies in the end ending the race on his own, as did the rest of the top 10 actually. Heinz Braun, Dennis Kirkopoulos, Ketil Larsen and Andrea Vasily. Outside the top 10 was that battle we just saw there. Ole Henrik Gullickson, Tobias Matheson. Paki Caruso is still showing there as 13th, but that might well drop when the proper results are applied. Ryan Stringer was in there as well. Philip van den Hoek was down to 15th in the end, holding off Matthew Cockerman towards the end there. Blue Jade was the final driver on the lead lap, ahead of Diego Malo, 1 lap down. Rodrigo de la Cruz, 2 down. Chris Wetz was a late retirement, and Hannes Rui was a fairly early retirement in tonight's race. Let's go the wrong way up the podium, shall we, tonight, and start with Brandon Hawkin, who's finished in 3rd place from Zolder. Brandon, welcome in and congratulations on a podium, although your race win streak does come to an end. It was always going to one day, I suppose, and you did start from 4th place today rather than up further towards the front as you normally have been. How was that race in terms of trying to make up those positions after qualifying 4th?
Yeah, that was tough. I didn't have the speed to begin with, so yeah, I qualified where I should have, and yeah, Andre and Peter, they were just like incredible today. That was I just could not I had nothing for them, so yeah, the goal was just hoping they to keep it clean, and then hope they start racing there in the middle towards the end, and then maybe take some scraps. But man, that was really tough. Yeah, they were on it the entire time, towards the end there, I think Andre got a slowdown penalty. That's how I caught back to him, and so just doing everything I could to try and get a run on him, but yeah, he was just like rock solid. So man, that was a like super tough race. Man, great race with James as well, and man, yeah, just sad to see it come to an end, but you know, it was, yeah, as you said, it was gonna happen. I've had a lot of luck this season, and yeah, just didn't quite have the speed here today, but yeah, I'll regroup, look forward to next week, and man, yeah, great win to beat her.
Well, indeed, as you say, that win streak coming to an end, and now here at Zolder here tonight. In terms of what you were expecting from this week, you mentioned that you sort of qualified where you felt you should have done, and therefore really finished where you should have done in this race in terms of your speed. Was that something you were coming into this week expecting when you saw the calendar? Did you think that Zolder wasn't going to be your strong suit compared to the other circuits, or is this, you know, just come up on you this week really that you just haven't had the speed that you have in the last 2 months or so?
Yeah, it's definitely the track that I saw on the schedule that I knew like I was gonna have to put a lot of work into to get comfortable with it. Yeah, definitely not my strongest track. I don't have too much experience on it, but yeah, started putting down laps. It was that chicane in the middle sector there. That was the toughest part. That was getting the car through there was like super tricky every lap, and just overall, I think I need to put some more laps in here, and or probably a few hundred more laps here. But man, that was I felt like I did all right, I guess, for what like I was expecting coming in. Just not quite where I needed to be, but I felt like I did okay, I think, but definitely my weakest track on the schedule for sure.
I mean, if you do end up doing hundreds and hundreds of laps around here, you're going to send yourself crazy, I would expect.
I think so.
I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't find it very interesting to drive, but you know, anyway. Congratulations on getting to that podium tonight here, Brandon, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Brandon Hawk in 3rd place here tonight from Zolder. So far, none of the other podium guys joining us, nor James Barry, who was in there for a brief moment. So in the meantime, we'll bring in Ryan Stringer, who finished in 13th place here tonight. Ryan, welcome in, and good to have you with us. We were just talking to Brandon Hawk in there about some of the chicanes around this circuit. A slightly unusual one compared to the layout that's normally used around here, that faster chicane, but also the chicane on the back straight there, it has its own challenges, and the one straight after that as you go over the hill it is as well. Just how did you find this very unique racetrack here tonight?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, I'm a little bit annoyed that we didn't get the final chicane, the normal one, because that one was just a luck of the draw if you was going to get a 1x or a slowdown realistically, because you're pretty much flat through there, other than like a little tap at the brake. But yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, I always have an issue with the radicals with the curbing usage, and I thought maybe I'll use it, and I started using it, and I found it was faster. I started making up some places. I then had a nasty little spin under my own accord. The rear's just locked, and yeah, just dropped 8 seconds off the pack. But to fight back to being in the three-way battle that was in front of me on the last lap, I can't be too annoyed.
Well, I was going to ask about that actually, because we watched you come over the line there, just in behind the photo finish. It almost was between Gullickson, Matheson and Caruso, who actually got a penalty right as you came across the line there and dropped behind you, bumping you up to 13th there in the end. But did you get there a little bit too late to really be involved in that final battle there, or what were those final laps like in that group?
Yeah, no, I think it was about 4 laps to go. I was like 7 seconds off the 3 of them, and I was like, okay, I'll probably just end up sticking in 14th at the time. And then I come over I come through the first chicane and then the second, and all of a sudden it was 3 seconds, and slowly crept towards it. But with I think it was the second to last lap, I had a squirrel over the first chicane, which lost me a second and a half, and that sort of signed the deal of being at the back of that pack. But I will be. I'm not annoyed with the result. I'm quite proud that my teammate kept it on the track.
Right, yeah, congratulations on getting to the end and in 13th place here tonight, Ryan. And thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
See you later.
Thanks very much, Ryan Stringer, 13th place here tonight as well. At the end of this round at Zolder. We're across to the other side of the world next week at Phillip Island for week 10. Also going to be a very interesting round, although for very different reasons to what this one was here tonight, Joe. It's sometimes an unusual circuit, certainly a challenging one, Zolder, but actually threw up some pretty decent racing tonight, as next week will, to a maybe even bigger degree, I'm sure.
Yeah, Phillip Island, I'm looking forward to. It is a fantastic old school track that really suits these radicals beautifully. No messy chicanes to get in the way of those fast sweepers, and massive mechanical grip that these drivers enjoy. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we'll be live with you 2100 GMT as always from Phillip Island for the next round of this championship down in Australia. So make sure you join us for that one next week, same time, same place on the iRacing and RaceSpotTV YouTube channels. Special event weekend coming up, by the way, on iRacing. Join us for the Portimao 1000 this weekend. It's a bit of a retro race with the HPDs, the GT1s and the GT2s making a return. We'll be live 1:30 UK time, 2:30 in European time, and that is 8:30 Eastern time over in America. If you want to join us for that endurance race tomorrow afternoon. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside J.R. Gregory in the commentary box here tonight, with remote Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this RaceSpotTV and iRacing broadcast from Circuit Zolder here tonight. Join us for the Radical Esports Cup next week from Phillip Island in 1 week's time. Until then, it's goodbye for now.